Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Relationship Evolution. I'm Ricardo,
And I'm Jessie.
and this is where me and Jesse go deep into the nasty, the good, the bad, the ugly of our relationship lessons over the last 10 years, right?
Yes.
And what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're talking about trigger words.
Ooh, what does that mean?
Words that your significant other does not do well by.
Let's not that's how we're gonna explain it.
That's how
Words that your significant other does not do well by.
that's how I'm going to explain it. How would you explain it?
Words that drive your significant other wild.
I'm
How
not sure
about that?
wild is the best word, but okay.
Okay. Well, from my experience, trigger words don't do very well with you,
Nor with you. Correct.
nor with me. And I won't say that they calm us down.
No,
They definitely trigger us, hence the name
for sure. For sure.
trigger words.
Yes.
All right. So, what's the number one trigger word in the Leon household and why?
We have several. However, I'm going to start with the very first one that kind of was the catalyst to all. And it was the trigger word handyman.
Actually, it's interesting because now at this point in time, June 23rd, 2021, I can actually laugh about it.
Yes. I'm glad you can laugh about it.
And
It did
before, not so much.
not at all.
So when did Handyman come about? Handyman came around in 2010, right? When we bought our house.
When we bought the house, yes. When we bought the house, it was probably the beginning of 2011, just because we bought our house at the end of 2010. And we were installing
Ceiling fans.
ceiling fans. We were installing ceiling fans and changing out like little light fixtures and just little small things. And I had, thought that Ricardo could do all this stuff. And so I'm like, we don't need to hire a handyman. I have you. And lo and behold, I did not know that that was a trigger word for my better half.
No, you did not know that.
Mm-mm.
You did not know that. And it was quite surprising to both of us, actually, if
Yes.
I have to be perfectly honest. And I don't know why it bothered me, to tell you the truth. I don't know why it bothered me, but it did. It did. It
Mhm.
really just dug into me for some reason, and I really couldn't even begin to tell you why. Um, I guess I never saw myself as a handyman, and I didn't like it. Um, I really couldn't even understand. But I mean, I remember specifically you said it a couple of times, and then to me, you said it one time too many.
Mhm.
And then I was just kind of like, ah!
Yes.
And I can't even go back and say, oh, I think it was because of this. Oh, I think it was because I have no idea. That's the
Mhm.
absolute truth is I have no idea whatsoever why it triggered me.
I mean,
None.
I have some
All
clues
right.
as to why.
Please break it down. Please tell me.
Honestly, I think it's because you are not a um, typical Mexican man, what most, have a stereotypical idea of what a Mexican man is and does. And you are not that. And you had, this idea in your head of what you would not become. And I think that you struggled with handyman, just like you struggled with mowing our yard. You were very against that.
Oh.
And so I think that had a lot to do with that. And we actually had to go to counseling for this. Like we had to
This
go
was a big
see.
one.
This was a big thing because I didn't insult him. I literally had just said, I was even complimenting him. I was like, "Oh, I'm so thankful for you that I have a handyman here that is able to put the, ceiling fans up and like the light fixtures." So I was so confused that he went so crazy with me when I thought I was complimenting him by saying he's such a handyman. I thought that was a good thing. I was giving him a compliment. Never did I think that the word handyman was going to trigger Ricardo to where it took us to counseling. It literally took us to counseling. I could not, it's not that I could, I'm not good. I don't want to say I couldn't calm him down, but I couldn't even get to a point where we weren't fighting, and we were fighting like every day, and I didn't even know what was going on. I couldn't get myself out of it, and I couldn't even get the fight to stop. Like
Let me say this. First of all, let me preface this. There is nothing wrong with people who are handy or handyman.
No, you're still
Okay.
The thing is, you are a handyman now.
And at the time, I was just like, how dare you call me that? Which again, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're handy, if you're a handyman, that's fine. But it just made me feel uncomfortable. And I was like, how dare you call me such a thing?
He took it as an insult.
I did.
And I couldn't back myself out of this conversation. No matter what I said, I kept on making it worse. And that was not my intention by any means. So literally it took us to counseling. The counselor got us in immediately, and we both have diarrhea of the mouth trying to explain the situation. And the counselor is looking at us like we're both crazy. That we're there for the word handyman. We're not even there. And he's like he's asking us, have either one of you cheated? No. Do you have financial issues? No. Like all these other issues that marriages have that bring them into his, into the counselor's office.
None
of those issues were our issues.
Handyman.
It was the word handyman.
Yep.
And so we had to work through that. And I had to understand that Ricardo, even though I was complimenting him and being appreciative for what he was doing for me and for our home, he did not take it that way. It didn't matter what I said or how I said it. To him, it was a trigger. That's where I really, both of us started understanding each other a little bit better when it came to trigger words, because we had never even thought of it until we both experienced that with Ricardo. Yes, Bobby, we can see your comments. Yes, thank you for commenting and tuning in. It was a very confusing time when we were going through this.
It was, but we got through that one.
We did. We did get through that.
That was one of the big Leon trigger words. What was one of yours?
Yes. I'm not sure. What do you think I don't know. I'm sure I have some.
Why are you upset?
Oh yeah. That's a big trigger. Yeah.
That's a huge trigger for you.
It's not even the word upset. It's why do you look mad?
Why do you
Are
look
you mad? No.
What's wrong?
What's wrong? Yes. Like all of that kind of all in one. What is wrong? All right. Why do you look mad? What just happened?
Are you okay?
Yes. It all insinuates that something is not good. And it that bothers me. And so I now, at the beginning, not so much, but now I'm like, I'm really focused right now. I apologize that I may not look the way I need to be looking for you to you right now so that you can understand. However, I'm not feeling nothing negative towards you or towards anybody else in this house. So I just have to clarify to him as well as our son, because our son does the same thing to both of us. Now he does it to Ricardo a lot more than to me. But it's interesting. Like you learn to communicate at a totally different level that you didn't know existed or needed to even happen, because there's certain trigger words that one or the other are effective. And it's a it's such an insane, like, the way that some of these words can trigger us is insane. Like, I know that so many women get triggered when they are told you're acting crazy. Oh my gosh. Like,
That
you're
is a
being
big one.
crazy, you're
Or
acting
calm
crazy.
down. Or
Oh
calm
my
down.
gosh, calm down.
I've
When you
heard I've heard several ladies and guys say, all I did was tell her to calm down.
Yes, it does not go well. So we
It does
all
not.
have trigger words. And there's something that way back when happened that is associated to that word, and it's a trigger. It's a negative trigger. Now the word handyman, literally
Laughs.
10 years later,
We laugh at it.
we laugh at it because we make fun of it, that he literally got so upset. It took us to counseling. Like, guy, I don't
It
think.
was other things.
No, I get it,
It
but
wasn't just that. Let's
no, but
clarify.
this was the reason that we made the appointment for this specific thing.
Correct.
And that was insane. That was insane to me that we had to go so we could be explained this.
Okay, but hold on. Let's really break this down now that we're actually talking about this. Is it that it was the trigger word, or was it everything else and then this on top? That I kind of feel that we had a lot of things leading up to this, and then this just kind of broke the camel's back.
I think it was a little bit of both, but the thing is we focus so much on the word handyman, especially in our sessions at the beginning, that I do think you personally needed to work through how you were feeling with that word and what that word meant to you before we even moved on into our relationship, because it I don't know that you even remember how hard and upset you were.
Oh, I was pretty
And
upset.
and the doctor, the psychologist that we were seeing, like, he had to help you, like, chill and calm down and get you to hear what I was saying, because I wasn't being ugly. I thought I was complimenting you. And so
But
hearing it.
that's where the issues come in.
Correct.
That's where the issues come in. It doesn't matter what you were trying to do or what you were trying to say, or what one person in the relationship is trying to do or trying to say. It matters how it's coming across to the other person.
I completely understand. I agree. Like, I totally agree. But that's why I think that it's important to communicate. And sometimes you do need a third party to come in and not necessarily even help with anything, but just kind of listen.
And tell you how crazy you are for getting upset about that.
No, because I mean, I'm handy, I'm a handyman. You're now, you help me with things around the house all the time, and you mow our lawn now. Like, it's not that big of a deal, right? So all these things that used to trigger you back in the day, it's not that big of an issue now.
No.
Bobby, we do appreciate you commenting. Thank you very much for being an active participant in our comments.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. So what about the current trigger words? Because you still get upset when I ask you, what's wrong? Are you okay? Is something wrong?
Correct, because typically when something is wrong, I tell you now. I don't hold much really in. I tell you. I'm telling you, whatever I'm going through, I speak my mind. I feel that I'm more vocal now than I ever have been in the past. So if something is wrong, I will definitely let you know, even if it's not about you, even if I just can't explain what I'm feeling, but I'm not feeling like myself. I tell you that. So yes, whenever you, um, say that you make that comment, what's wrong? I do instantly go back to that initial, oh, nothing's wrong. Like, why do you have to ask that? But then I talk myself through it, and I, have to remind myself, like, he's looking at my face. Like, whatever I'm working on, he's looking at my face. He doesn't know what's going on through my head. He doesn't know what I'm thinking of. He doesn't know what I'm working on. So I have to use my words and explain to him what I'm working on, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. Even if it's not a physical thing, I still have to use my words so that you understand why I'm looking a certain way. And I think that now that our 7-year-old son does that to you so often that he does, I think you understand it more when you do it to me now.
Yes. Yes. I think that's really big because for me, I still get triggered sometimes, but I don't react to it the way that I did. I don't think this is, you know, for the couples listening in, for the single people listening in, for the people looking for relationship advice. If you're looking for a magic wand from Ricardo and Jesse on how to fix this and how to get rid of it and eliminate it forever, no, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. I mean, we're all human. We're going to have trigger words all the time. All the
Correct.
time. And there's going to be trigger words that we don't even know that they're trigger words, in the future. That's just the way that things happen. And
Correct.
the I think the main thing, the most important thing is that you communicate that. Like, as soon as you realize that, why did that just bother me? Because sometimes you're in a great mood and someone just said something and you're like, okay, why did my mood just change? What just
Correct.
happened? And you yourself have to take a look at why you're feeling like this now. And
Why
that's
did that
hard.
comment make me
Cor-
feel that way?
Correct. Why did that comment make me feel that way? What's going on with myself? Because it has nothing to do with that other person.
Nothing.
It has to do with you, and it's a trigger for you. But I will say this: you can communicate that to that other person and say, "Hey, you just said this, and I don't know why I'm feeling like this, but this is what I'm feeling." That's how we communicate now. That's literally how we communicate now. Where, babe, I know you didn't mean to say this, but this is how I felt when you said this. And I know your intention is that you love me and you want the best for me. However, when you said that, this is how it made me feel.
Correct.
And that's, that's what the goal is, to be able to talk to someone when you are unfortunately having those moments, because we're human. They're going to happen. Like, no one's perfect. It's just, you have to work through that.
Definitely. And again, there's not a magic wand. There's not a way to eliminate it. There's not a way to change it. There's not a way to fix it. What we can share is how to deal with it, how to analyze your reaction to it, and
Mhm.
how to communicate how you feel about the situation while it's happening in real time.
Correct.
So that we can do
Correct.
because that's what we do.
Yes, I mean, that's all we do. We literally talk through it, and sometimes your your brain is speaking quicker than your mouth can, and so you kind of have diarrhea of the mouth where all this stuff is coming out and you can't put it together, but the person that's there with you, they're hearing it, and then they can put it together to help you on why you're, like, oh, you said this and then you said this and you put that together, and this is why I think you're going through this. Does that sound familiar? What does that do to you?
Correct.
So they can help you go through that, because I don't think I consciously, whenever we have trigger words now, I don't think I personally consciously tell you, this is how I need you to help me. Like, I know that I just talk, and then in talking and just letting that all out to you, we find the solution in that conversation of just going back and forth.
And there's also been times where one of us says, "Hey, I just need a minute."
Correct.
That maybe we can't tell the person exactly how we feel right that second in that moment while it's happening in real time. You just feel that something happened, that
Hmm.
something went wrong, that something was said, that you're feeling these emotions within your body. And hold on, hey, I just need a minute.
Yeah.
I
And
just
I
need
think that's normal.
I need to be left alone for 10 minutes, for a few minutes. I just need to walk away for right now.
Yeah, and I think that that's normal, and I think that that's okay. I think that that's healthy. Literally earlier this week, you had a moment like that where you needed some quiet time, and our son kept on messing with you, and just explained it to him. I was like, "Hey, sometimes when you don't really want to be around anyone and you just don't feel yourself and you don't know why, and you're kind of happy but you're kind of sad and you're kind of mad all at the same time, you can't explain it." And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Daddy's kind of feeling like that right now, so let's just leave him alone for a little bit." He's like, "Okay." And then you said, you even told him, you're like, "I still love you, papito." And he's like, "I know." Okay, that's perfect. Like that's how I feel that communication should be, especially teaching, our son who's 7 on how to communicate. And it's okay that you don't know how to express what you're feeling when you're feeling or what just happened. Bobby, those trigger words, oh my gosh, they used to drive me berserk. Okay, Bobby commented that her trigger words are what's for dinner. Many,
Ooh,
many women can, especially working women, okay, that go and have a full day's work and then come home and are still expected to cook and be the wife and, do all this stuff. It's hard. And I struggled with that for several years. And Ricardo and I had the habit of, after I got out of work, we would talk on the way home. And so what happened for me specifically is I told him, "Hey, I need to start a new routine for myself. Like I need some quiet time. I need me time. And as soon as I get home, I'll be ready for you guys. I'll cook whatever you want. But I need my me time." And at the beginning, it was just quietness. Like I would turn off the phone, no music, no podcast, no anything. It's just my 30-minute drive home was just quietness because that's what I needed. And then eventually it got to the point where I was listening to a podcast or I was listening to music. And then it got to, it kind of like I did it in kind of like scales. And so then it got to the point where on my way home, I would listen to music that reminded me of Ricardo and of our son. And I would do gratitude. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm so thankful, for the house that we have, the day that we signed, our mortgage and got our keys, and the day we got married, and the day we had our son, and the first time Sebastian peed on Ricardo," and things like that, that would just fill my heart with laughter and just love and things like that. So that when I did walk in the door and both of them run to me to ask me what I'm cooking, I didn't get frustrated because I literally just flooded all of my heart and my mind with things that reminded me of how much I love them and how much, I adore these two human beings and I will do anything for them. No matter how exhausted I am, I will do it for them. And so I had to do that for a while. However, I was very vocal with what I needed to both of them. And so I explained it to them like, "I'm going to try this out for right now because mommy is getting to the point where mommy doesn't want to come home. Mommy wants to run away." So I'm going to need some me time and I'm going to take that me time on my drive home. And again, it just literally goes back to communication. And it's so interesting that I didn't think it was that big of a deal to share how I was feeling to Ricardo and to Sebastian. And I realized that it was a big deal. A lot of people don't do that. And I'm shocked. I'm shocked that there's so many moms out there that, you know, they don't share how they're feeling and they just hold that in. And it makes me sad for them because I couldn't do everything that I do and I enjoy to do it. That's the crazy part. Like I truly enjoy to do all of this. I couldn't do it without keeping both Sebastian and Ricardo updated on everything that I'm thinking and feeling and everything.
So here's the thing, like one of the things that has doesn't really get taken into consideration is what the other person is going through. Like it's just I think sometimes as human beings, whether you're male, female, whatever, we're just selfish. It's about me, 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 me. Right. And it's okay. It's just how it is sometimes. It's not impossible. It's not hard, but we fall into that,
Mhm.
right? It's 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 not impossible to be appreciative of the other person or to be considerate, and it's not hard for sure. And obviously that's the ideal, but some in a lot of cases the humans just go into selfishness, and
Mhm.
that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. We don't take into consideration what the other person is feeling, thinking, or going through
Mhm.
because it's about me.
Correct.
And that's where the communication needs to be stable. That's
Mhm.
where the communication needs to be the foundation of what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And it needs to be we've done it now to where it's a family communication. We do full like there's certain things that obviously I keep you the most updated with everything, but then there's certain things that I do allow Sebastian to know because I think it's a very important number one for him to know that mommy deals with this, but also to train him now that women when he grows up, this is what he will be dealing with and he needs to know as of right now at the age of 7 that this is coming for him. Like this, it's just human nature. And so if he knows how to handle that communication, he will accept the communication freely and even kind of encourage that
Correct.
when he's older. So I think we do really good with communicating how all of us are doing, even Sebastian. And it's just practice.
Correct. And that's the cure. That's how you get over. That's how you work through the trigger words.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's how you get past it.
Yeah.
And again, real quick, let's recap. If there's a trigger word that someone says that stirs up some kind of emotion inside of you, in most cases, it's not an ideal emotion. In most
Mhm.
cases, it's not a positive emotion,
Mhm.
right? You just say, hey, what you said, I didn't appreciate it, or what you said to me just now hit me the wrong way. Or even say, okay, hey, you know what? I need a few minutes.
Mhm.
I need a few minutes and then come back and talk about it. And it's okay to not even understand why that made you feel that way.
Correct.
You don't have to understand that feeling or that emotion for that right there in that very moment.
Correct. And you don't have to explain your emotions either.
No,
Like you don't no one has to understand your emotions. You don't have to explain your emotions. Like what you feel is a legitimate, emotion and it's
correct.
okay and that's fine. The only, thing that we're saying specifically about communicating is so that that other person understands kind of what you're going through that you need some time right now, some space. Maybe just a little bit more babying, but that's it. It's not that they have to understand what you're going through or that you have to explain what you're feeling. They just have to be there for you.
Correct. And the best thing that the other person can do is not push it.
Mhm.
Not push it. When they're saying like, "Hey, I need a minute. Hey, that really affected me in a certain way." Don't push it. Don't go
Mhm.
chasing after them. If they need some time, you give them time.
Yeah.
You don't go chasing, "Well, what's wrong? What did I do? What I didn't mean to do that. Whatever it is, I'm sorry." No, 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 no.
You struggled with this at the beginning,
I did.
and you still have moments of struggle
I do.
when this happens because you want to resolve it right then and there.
I
And
sure do.
I don't because I know that my go-to is angry
Correct.
and ugly words. And so I don't want to continue on because I don't want to revert back to anger and to ugly words and hurtful words. I need moment to understand what I'm feeling and what I'm going through so that I can come back and use my words properly to explain to you what I'm feeling and what
Correct.
I'm going through in a more calm fashion, that I am not necessarily all in my emotions. I'm more in my heart explaining why I felt a certain way, even though my head knows that whatever you may have said or whatever may have happened was not intentional. You didn't do it to, because you don't love me, and you didn't do it to harm me, but I may have felt that way. And just because I felt that way doesn't mean it's necessarily the truth. And that's ultimately, I know that that is true, period. That everything you do and say specific to our family is always to love, to support, to encourage us. It's never, hateful or to, you know, destroy us. It's always to build us up. And at my core, I know that. But I
Yes.
still have to work through that feeling.
Yes. And I'll give a blanket statement that goes right along with that is the majority of the time what someone is doing has good intentions.
Oh, yeah. The majority. I
The
agree.
majority of the time.
Yeah.
There's very few instances, I'm not saying any or never, but there are a few instances where it's actually an ugly, a negative, malicious intention. But the majority of the time, most of the time, people's actions have good intentions.
Correct.
Maybe they're deep down, maybe they're not even on the surface, but they are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
Good second episode, babe. Trigger
Okay.
words.
Good.
What
Are
do
you
you think?
excited?
I
I'm
am.
I'm good. I knew that trigger words was going to be a good episode for us.
Definitely a good episode.
So, you know, I'm good with it. I'm happy.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another episode of The Relationship Evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure to go visit forceforgrowth.com because this podcast will be part of the Force for Growth Podcasting Network. Ta-dum. Announcement. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.